Now, remember I told you there are two kinds of negotiations, one shot and long term? Well, we're going to start with the one shot type negotiation. And since you are all from different companies, we're going to have you go through a buyer-seller situation, something you know very well, how to buy or sell. And that's a car. So I'm going to be a buyer. Who would like to be a seller in a role play situation with me as a teaching situation? Harley, you going to do that?
Sure.
Harley, what is your last name?
Vandello.
Vandello.
Vandeloo. It's a Dutch name.
Vandello.
More or less.
Am I pronouncing it right? Vandello?
Yeah.
Close enough?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why don't you take some notes, because I'm going to give Harley a couple of you as consultants. And you're going to leave the room for a few minutes in a minute and prepare Harley. Harley, Vandello Ford has been in existence for 17 years. You started it, and I want to tell you a little bit about you. You have an excellent reputation. If you have ever cheated anybody, it was a mistake, and you don't know about it, otherwise you would have fixed it, okay? Harley's company started in his area the practice of giving you back your used parts when he fixes your car. For example, Susan, you go in and you have a tune-up, he gives you a plastic bag full of your old spark plugs, because the last thing he ever wants you to think or believe is that he cleaned up the old ones. You got new spark plugs, okay? Anytime Harley's ever fixed something, if it didn't stay fixed, he refixed it. And Harley, you have this kind of a selling situation. You sold Bob his last car. But the neat part about it is you sold Bob's mother her car, and Bob's sister her car, and Bob's dad his car, and Bob's grandfather. So it's not uncommon for fathers or mothers to bring in their sons, daughters, or nephews and say, Harley, she's going away to college, she needs a car. All right? Now,
New or used?
new or used, right. Now, Harley, you don't know me, but about 2 weeks ago, I stopped in with a typed list. How old are you, Harley?
49.
49. I'm older than you are, and we're going to go back even farther. You're going to have a hard time with the time warp I'm going to create for you, okay? This is an old story. It's the year 18, I don't know what year it is. This is a long time ago, as you'll tell from the prices. Anyway, I had a typed list of 19 whatever it was, brand new Ford LTD station wagon that I wanted to buy. And you gave me the following quote on it. You want to write it down? $4,400.
So you're in the 50s.
Sometime in it, yeah. Now what you said to me was, when you gave me that quote, and I got it right here, Harley's quote, $4,400, it's good for 30 days. And you also said to me, you know, before you buy it, I told you that night I was not going to buy a car, I just wanted a quote against this. And since it was typed, you must have assumed I was peddling it around somewhere. And you did a good sales job, you told me all about Harley Ford, or as much as you could at that time. Now I walk out, and I have a quote for $4,400 in my pocket. You are the owner, and you've got 5 or 6 salespeople. Recently, you pulled those 5 or 6 salespeople together and gave them the following speech. Hey, we're giving cars away. We cannot lose money on each car and make it up in volume. But unbeknown to everybody, because it's no one else's business, you're just about 30 units of sale away, 30 cars away from moving into the next discount level for Ford. If you make that, you'll get a retroactive 1% discount on everything you've sold so far. All right? The next scene is going to be, I'm going to come back in with your quote and probably try and buy that car from you. About 14 years ago, you hired a young kid out of Germany as your chief mechanic. This kid is not only good, he's great. This is the only mechanic you've ever known that doesn't grease the steering wheel and the upholstery. Okay? This guy, you could eat off the floor in the garage where he works. He's got a crew of people. The floors are painted red, white on the wall. They all wear uniforms. Your back room has a great reputation. Anything else you want to know about? Oh, you're in good shape with the bank. You're not in trouble. So you have the traditional problem of all salespeople. You need the sale, but you guys have been giving away cars like that. At $4,400, you got a little room left in it, right? Now, you don't know anyone in the room except your buddies, and I'm going to give you one problem. Pick 2 people other than your buddies to step out in the hall with you and be a consultant to you for about 10 minutes while I tell the rest of them the whole story. Okay. The reason I asked him to leave is because he has a guaranteed sale. I'll tell you why. 2 years earlier in the story, I buy a car from a place called Roselle Ford, 12 miles from my house. For the first 6 months, I can't keep the goddamn car running. That's a problem for me, but it's a larger problem for my wife, because she is with 4 children, running a house, cooking, full-time job in the house, and I dropped the problem on her. I got to have a car for work. Will you take the car in when it breaks down? So it breaks down like 4 or 5 times in the first 6 months I own it. First time she drives there with my car, takes a cab back there to get it. And I don't know, I think it costs us $20 for the cab rides, babysitter. Second time she takes the kids with and waits for it. They don't want her to do that anymore. The kids ruin the showroom, you know, fingerprints and all the car. Next time she has a neighbor to, anyway, the bottom line is she's kind of tired of this. So 2 years later, I'm ready to buy a new car. And she says to me, are you going to buy another Ford? I say, yes. And she says, will you do me a favor? Sure. Will you buy it from Harley Ford? Now, Harley Ford is 2 blocks up to the highway and 3 blocks over. Really is a place in Wooddale that was 5 blocks from where I lived. So I say to her, well, let's go shopping. So we go and we get a price from Harley of $4,400. Problem is, we go over to Roselle and get a price of $43.25. $75 difference. What would it be worth today? $1,500? What?
Depends on how far back you go. And I'd say 10 years ago it'd be worth $500 today.
Okay, so the I want you to know the $75 isn't the end of the world, but it's not a nickel, especially when you're raising kids and working for a living. So we now have these 2 prices, and I can buy this car where I bought the old one, which is an okay place, for $75 less. But now my wife has asked me to buy it at the place 5 blocks away. Should I buy it 5 blocks away and pay the 75 extra bucks if I have to?
How much did it cost you, Bill? Taxi cab, drives?
Excellent argument. So you're really saying I ought to. I ought to buy it at the local place. I'm not putting you on the spot. This is a real important question. Is it okay if I don't tell him about me living 5 blocks away?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell him whatever you want.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about your head. Is it okay if we keep that from him?
Yeah.
Because if I tell him, he's not going to cut the price, right? He'll figure out the cab fares as quick as you did. So, am I going to withhold some information from him?
Mm-hmm.
Your next question. Not based on your advice, but based on my own survival tactics, I say to my wife, I'll buy it from Harley. Fair decision, right? Is it okay if I pretend in front of Harley that I might not buy it from him? Because I don't want to pay him that $75 if I don't have to. Now, if I walk in and say, I live 5 blocks away and I promised my wife I'd buy the car from here, will he cut the price?
Not a chance.
Not a
Quite
chance.
rightly.
So I'm going to go in and misdirect them, withhold some information from them, do a few things from them. Okay.
Right, and that's what I stated before, that you don't reveal everything.
Okay. And that's where I was guilty by using the word lie
Yeah,
to
I
catch
just
your
at times
attention.
have a problem with that word, and I think it gets used a lot in the business world.
Okay. But now you see it in the right context?
Yes, and
Okay.
I think that I have seen it in the right context before.
But I meant the way I misused it. You see what I really meant?
Right,
Okay.
but you have to feel comfortable with that yourself.
Okay. Well, now, if you're in the next negotiation, will you be able to do that?
I don't know, it depends on the circumstances.
All right, well, we'll
and
give
what
you a
I-
chance.
how
Maybe
I
we'll
wanna
test
handle
that. We'll test that. We'll see how that works. All right. Now, so you understand the problem. I promised I will buy the car. So no matter what you hear me say up there, you know that I'm going to buy the car from you. My job is to pay as little money as I can and get as many other things as I can. That's what the negotiation process is. So he sold a car and I bought one. Now all we're doing is negotiating that difference, that opening.